so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:03, and it's Two Guys and a Goalie on a Thursday, presented to you by GS Construction, where they've been setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety, driving all of their success. GS has a foundation built on teamwork, and now they want you to become a part of that team. Visit www.gsconstruction.ca, click on Ready to Work, or visit their page at Indeed.ca. And with the Next Person Up program at GS Construction, it's not just a job, it is a career. Look who it is, Gage.
Unbelievable.
Look who snuck into the office today. Cass, what brings you to the West End?
I didn't sneak. I kind of kicked the door down on the way and yelled at everybody.
Yeah.
But no, I did just, you know what? I've been here a little bit. And I was like, I got to go. I got to get in. I got to get in.
That's good.
Got to feel the wood table.
So nice.
Got to put my hands on Gager's body and make sure that he's still real and not a figment of my imagination. So
I'm the village bike.
yeah, he's still real. So we're good. Just wanted to get in, Dusty.
I'm the well. Good to see you, Cass. It's always a lot of fun when we got the whole crew here.
Yeah.
That's a good time. 780-218-9999. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or watching over on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up. G-Dog the Hog says, big crew blocking the net today. Good net front presence here. I think that's
something
pretty
the
good.
Oilers could use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you doing the alumni skate tomorrow?
No.
No.
Are you,
I
Cass?
didn't look. I'm doing it tomorrow. Yeah, but
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
No.
Try and go bar down and toe drag and
Nice.
make
How
you
often
look
do you
real
get out
good.
to the alumni skate, Gager?
Never now.
I guess not now.
Too busy. Yeah.
Sorry. I
Oh, I
forgot
guess,
you're
yeah.
right.
Sorry. Well, I guess I forgot. I wasn't even
Thanks,
thinking about
Dusty.
that. I was like, yeah. You got a show to do.
That's all right.
We've been thinking about trying to get like an afternoon EST skate.
Ooh.
With like different nasties coming in.
yeah.
Get like a 3 o'clock ice time or 4 o'clock ice time or something. That would be a lot of fun.
Just run some people into the boards. That'd be fun.
Send a
yeah.
message. Yeah.
Send 'em.
Are you telling your friends about TuneIn and iHeart? Nope.
Yeah. Oh.
All right. Boom. Dry
like to see-
settle lazy cross check to the back.
I'd like Reed in front of my net with X-Ray J there. Probably a few cross checks to the back. He'd take a 4 minutes.
I like the early rivalry between
I know.
Reed and X-Ray J.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's good. All right, 780-218-9999. I love this one. Max says, Cass, you're on mute.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. Juan said you came in through the door here like Kramer today.
I did. That's what I said it wasn't like I didn't sneak in. It's like I kicked open the door and just slid right in. It was beautiful.
It was great because I heard the voice, and in the back, you go, "Wait a second, who's that sounds a lot like Cass."
Yeah. It's showing up today.
Yeah, but you didn't bring a computer, so you can't yell at people in the chat, though.
No, I did bring it. I just didn't set it up.
Oh, okay.
It's on my bag. But yeah, no, I'll just have to yell at people in person.
All right, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. If you have any questions about the Oilers, we will get to that. Another little task we're going to do today is going to be kind of fun. I threw this tweet out a little bit earlier on. We were talking about it around the office here, too. And we'll get to it. A lot of talk about Oilers power play today. We'll spend a lot of time on that. But what would be the ultimate NHL power play? The only rule, and we're talking all time, and the only rule is the guys couldn't have played. I said franchise. We could also do like same team, same time. No, that's not going to work. Franchise. So you can't have McDavid and Gretzky on your power play. So you can only have one guy from each franchise on your power play. So submit those now into the chat. Give us a thumbs up while you're over there. 780-218-99 is where you can text in. Lots of good, including a few power plays that rolled in without Wayne Gretzky on it, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm like, I got my 3 forwards set in my mind already.
Ovi,
Wayne, Mario.
Okay.
And then the defense is like, okay.
Do you run 2D or do you go with
well, that's where it's like, okay, you start to, to me, like, gets to be the conundrum. So I'm gonna have to chew on that.
I think the point man in general is a pretty good conversation. I think it's a pretty good conversation.
Yeah.
So.
Probably could say Bobby Orr.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. I guess we were, because who was it? Zach that brought it up, maybe, or Hernan. Or like, if you put McDavid on your power play, do you need Bobby Orr to transport the puck up the ice? Because McDavid will try. You're trying to. And who's the net front? Who's your net front presence? Are you running a different power play? Or, but there's been tons of great answers over on Twitter already. So we'll get into to a few of those. But yeah, for me, would Mario have to be? I mean, it's Mario freaking Lemieux. Hard to not have him.
Well, how does he not be? To me, he's your net front guy that kind of flares out.
Can do anything for
Can do anything, right? So it's like you start him in that position, but you could rotate. Because I'm like, Gretzky won in the half wall. Ovi's in his one-time spot.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm like, okay, for your other main forward guy, like it's probably Lemieux. Yeah. Unless you have him running one of the points and then Orr on the other, in which case you got to find a different guy for net front. Which
and then you go with just another super skilled guy, or do you take a guy who made a living in front of the net?
Yeah, that's
would
that's
that make your power play better? It's an interesting question. I said right away, Hernan and I, we were like, Ovi and Gretzky are on it for sure. That's my two.
Without question.
Those are my two.
Yeah.
But then where do we go from there?
Best goal scorer of all time, best player of all time.
Yeah.
Those two
arguably also one of the best goal scorers of all time too. With Wayne. So I think that's where you start. But Gage, where do you go next?
I think you gotta decide how your players are going to be implemented. Like the net front presence, I think, is huge, right? And I threw out Tim Kerr because I'm thinking a Tim Kerr in today's game, a big, huge body, is used to a lot of abuse. He's not going to get abused anymore. And he was a slot machine.
Yeah.
He just scored 50 goals every year from 3 feet out. He would be Hyman on steroids.
What about like an Eric Lindros?
Who brought that up?
Hernan? Hernan's
like again, big body, net front, still can score, still can play outside the front of the net.
A little more versatility
in there.
He could definitely, like back in the day, he was.
Or I got another one here.
I'm thinking on the power play. You have to go back to like my teenage years, but was Lindros the net front guy on the power play? He was kind of an all over the zone guy on the power play.
I think it was Leclerc that was more.
It would have been Leclerc.
Well, he'd be pretty deadly there
a good
too.
answer too.
What about another one just popped in my mind? What about a Peter Forsberg?
Oof.
He wouldn't shy away from some net front contact.
No, he wouldn't.
But same thing, can play exterior as well, like if you have a rotation.
I'm still at if we move out to you were talking about, are we going 5 forwards or just 1 D or 4 forwards and a D?
Well, it kind of depends. Back in the day, it was more 3 and 2, but it's transitioned into a 4 and 1.
It's a 4 and 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like because if I kind of go, most teams kind of model like what Edmonton has. Like that's with the bumper guy that kind of slides in and out. And so I'm like, okay, Ovi's where Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a one-time option. Like he's on the left side. You have Gretzky probably working the half wall on the other side, right? You have Orr as your primary guy at the point. And then it's the other two where you're like, okay, who's kind of your
You could throw Mario in the bumper. I only say that because of passes that Wayne would throw to him, he'd let go between his legs for the one time.
Well, but also slide, then he's the guy that slides back door for the Draisaitl one timer to Barry.
Or if Wayne moves down behind the net, Mario could slide over.
You can, disgusting rotation.
Yeah.
But then it's that net front guy to me is like, okay, well then who's that guy? That's just the biggest question to me.
See, I'm thinking of good transporters too, like that.
Well, but or can transport. Gretzky can transport.
Or
Lemieux can transport. Like who's?
I guess.
If we're taking prime Ovi, I mean, he moved pretty well.
Yeah,
but you don't want him. I mean, Orr and Mario are the two transport guys.
Yeah.
In that.
Can you imagine Bobby Orr taking it up, then dropping it back to Mario? Full speed
what do you do? Like what? I mean, you either try to take away or carrying it, but if he's got that drop back to Mario, you're just like, oh, we're screwed.
Mario brings it in, and he's got Gretzky to his right and Ovechkin to his left.
No, it's disgusting.
That is ridiculous.
That's something I'd build.
Those probably got to be your 3 forwards, and then there's just that one guy who's the 4th forward.
NHL '98, right? Ultimate Team. Yeah.
So we're kind of. So it's Ovi, Mario, and Wayne.
We know those.
We know those 3. So now we're thinking of the top kind of 2 bumper side. I think I have mine.
Okay.
Mine are Al McInnes.
Just a heavy point shot.
Just a cannon. And Sergei Fedorov.
Whoa. Where'd this come from?
But net front?
Well, that's going to
You could
be
slide Mario down
Mario's
there.
going to go there. Ovi.
I don't know if Mario's back could handle net front on the power.
We're
play.
assuming they're all healthy.
Yeah, they're all
in this
healthy.
scenario.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
This is he's been doing a lot of Pilates and stuff, so Mario's just fine. But I'm just thinking pure speed and Sergei's played D too, right?
Yeah, moved him around. Oh, man, I don't know. I'm definitely on board with Ovi, Wayne, and Mario. I don't know how I could say no to like Bobby Orr, but
I can't. I gotta have
I
one on
don't
the
know.
point.
I don't mind the McInnes hammer job situation. The net front thing's really fascinating for me. I don't know who I think I'd be torn on going to like a Tim Kerr or like maybe Esposito or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But,
See, I
but
still
then you have
want-
so many other good players.
There's
out
so
there.
many other good
I
players.
might
Was
go
Kerr
Lindros.
right? Was Kerr right-handed?
Kerr was right, but
See that is a
See, now-
bump up
But
in
then
his
you
favor.
got three
you got
rights.
3 rights, so that's why you have Fedorov. So there's 2 lefts, 2
Yeah.
rights, and a massive right up top.
In Ovi on the hammer.
Or McInnes is left, right?
Yeah, he's a lefty.
A lefty. So you have McInnes going back and forth, possibly with Ovi.
on that side. Poor goaltender.
Oh my God!
Who's gonna shoot it? Yeah.
He just goes side to side like this.
You probably, if you're PKing that, you're probably just putting a guy in between them, just so they can't go back and forth, because someone's.
I think you probably
Hammering
need
that.
about 5 different guys to rotate through net front because McInnes and Ovi are going to kill him.
Just killing
Yeah.
people.
They're gonna absolutely
Yeah.
kill him. The troll is in and says, guys, what about Yarmir Yager? Net
can't.
front.
You
They go, you
can't.
can't because Mario's on.
Mario's
team.
on, yeah.
That's the rule. That's the rule. Well, mind you,
He did play for other teams too.
McInnes played with the Blues and so did Gretzky.
I know, but look.
Yeah,
That's
We view
I'm looking-
Gretzky as an
Gretzky.
Oiler.
I'm
looking them-
Yeah.
Like, what
As
would he gone into the
McInnes
hall
is a
as?
blue. Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
exactly.
That's an easy way
Yeah.
around it. Amos Moses says Ovi, McDavid, Mario, Gretzky with the Kings, and then McKinnis Caulfield.
Can't do that.
You can't. That's
Can't do that.
that's
It's,
taking it a
that's-
little too far.
That's like abusing LTIR, essentially. It's abusing the system.
Yeah.
Finding the loophole.
So yeah, keep those text messages coming in. 780-218-9999. Here's one. Cole Harbor Joe is just right out of left field. Shea Weber, Ryan Smith in front, Mario, Ovi, and Pavel Bure.
I wanted to put Pavel in there, and I thought, but Pavel, I think, kind of stayed where Leon was. Did he not? On the power play a lot? I can't remember.
I can't remember where
We
he
got to
set
start going back and watching old power
know.
plays.
up. Well, they ran them. You ran them so differently.
Differently than.
They run so differently than you do now.
It was
like
2 guys at the top.
it was, 2 guys along the blue line at the top, guy in the corner, guy in the half wall, guy in front. Like you set it up on one side of the ice. You didn't try to spread things.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when you first started to do, even in junior, like that was back when I was playing, when teams first started to do, we called it the umbrella.
Yeah.
Like where you rotated
And you only
them.
did it 5-on-3.
And and you rarely did it like where you moved to the 3 guys across the top. Like no one did it. Like that's been in the last 10 years, probably, or 12 years even, where that's really become a thing.
Colton Podolsky over on the Nasty Chat says, guys, Dave Andrechuk, 275 career power play goals. I mean, if you're looking for true net front guy, 200 of his 274 power play goals,
A lot of those.
230 of them must have
Yeah.
been from the edge of the crease.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And he's a lefty, isn't he? Gets you that
Yeah, I
lefty.
think so.
I think Andrechuk's a lefty.
Troll follows up with another question. He says, guys, what about the best power play with active players? Same rule, 1 guy per team. Also a fun task.
that's a
Then
good
we'll get
one.
to the others power play changes.
Active.
2 guys in a goal.
Active.
Active, it would be
McDavid.
McDavid. Now you can only take McCarr or McKinnon.
I know.
You got to go McCarr.
You got to go McCarr.
It's McCarr. Sorry, McKinnon, but
yeah.
you got. I think
But
you got to go
you
McCarr.
could go Quinn Hughes instead. And then
You could
take
go Quinn
McKinnon.
Hughes. You could go Quinn Hughes.
Oh, shoot.
Oh boy,
And
Okay,
you
so
can't
we-
take Leon either. I mean,
can't take Leon. You can't take Rantanen.
You got. I think you got to take Matthews.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, you probably have
So
to,
I
you have
take
to have
Matthews.
on
Yep.
there. So what do we say? We got McDavid, McCarr, Matthews. Or if we want Quinn Hughes instead, you could put McKinnon in there as well. I want to look up power play point leaders over the last little while here while we're diving. I mean, there's the Panarins, there's Kucherov.
I think you have to have Kucherov.
You have to have
There's Kucherov there too.
I think Kucherov takes the Nugent spot, like on that side.
Do you put him there? But he's such. I mean, you got McDavid.
You have McDavid.
They're both 100. Yeah. So
Yeah. I just think of like again of a rotation where I'm like Kucherov from that spot. I think is able to distribute.
Yeah. He could probably take a one-timer on his offside anyway.
The old forehand one-timer.
Here are your top 10 in power play points last year in the National Hockey League. Kucherov, 538. McKinnon, 53. McKinnon, 48. McDavid and Panarin both had 44. Kaprizov had 41 power play points last year.
He's been lights out this year too.
JT Miller's 40, Rantanen's 40, Stamkos 39, Draisaitl 39, and then Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes actually at 39 and 38. So,
because if I go Quinn Hughes,
then you can get McKinnon out
then
there.
I get McKinnon, Matthews, McDavid,
and
Kucherov. Then with Quinn Hughes.
Oh yeah, that's
pretty good.
Pretty lights
or,
out.
or you go Makar, Matthews, McDavid, Kucherov, Panarin,
yeah,
or something like that. That'd be pretty good too.
that I like that one.
They're all pretty
Not as a
disgusting.
goalie, but I like to watch it.
How about
Yeah,
do you want to do another thought exercise?
Yes,
with
okay, I
the
love
Four
this.
Nations coming up.
Sure.
Yeah, we got some
Right.
time.
Yeah.
We got some time. But with the active, so for Team Canada,
Yeah.
if you were setting Team Canada's PP1, how do you set it right now?
Okay. Let me see. Well, we were just joking about this around the office yesterday. We want to see Bedard, Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, and Makar on it. I don't know if that's reasonable. Like, I don't know if Hyman makes a team,
it's
is he
reasonable.
that for a guy or like,
Yeah.
But does that work?
Does Bedard work would be the
Two
question.
lefties, two righties, and then Makar on the point.
Yeah. Does Bedard work is the question on that.
Where would he be on that one? Like, how would that power play look? I think Sid would kind of be your net front guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
so Sid
Yeah.
would be
Big
your
butt,
net front
hard
guy.
to move, spins off a guy's well.
And then the thing is that, and that's why this is a good task, a real thoughtful show today here with all of us in studio together. McDavid operates here, kind of all over the place, but more. Where do you just operate more? Left side, right side. Draisaitl's usually over here, and Nuge is kind of over here. Where's McDavid? He's always all over the place.
Kind of on the left side on a back and forth.
Like on a back and forth.
Back and
But
forth.
if that's the case,
Yeah.
if you've got McKinnon and Bedard as righties,
Well, but he's your half wall guy.
yeah.
So he's a guy that starts the play,
And
generally
just kind
starts
of like
the rotation.
left point guy that rolls down.
That rolls down
Yeah, okay.
depending on the rotation. Like in a perfect situation, usually McDavid starts with it. So it depends on your entry where the puck ends up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because he'll either start on the left half wall or the right half wall, and he moves it from there. Whether he moves it to the point and then rotates, or he does that where he kind of button hooks, like takes a step up and then moves to attack to look for that seam play to McDavid or to Draisaitl on that side. So it's like generally he's working off the half wall on both sides, and moves. Like he's a guy that starts the rotation if they can.
And then Nuge bumps usually out to the middle once he sees McDavid, and then Hyman's using the backboard.
Yeah. So Nuge kind of has he's the T intersection guy.
He's like back and forth through the
Back and
middle.
forth through the middle.
Yeah.
Like if you were, playing like tabletop hockey, like that's where Nuge's power play line would be on that.
Yeah, that's where he would be stuck.
T intersection, kind of stuck in there, rotating into the middle to be the bumper guy.
There's this one
yeah.
line that goes all over the offensive
that's
zone.
everywhere, yeah.
That's McDavid.
He's just
he can
the
literally
magnet
go
underneath.
all over the
He's
point.
the
Yeah.
magnet underneath. You're just
The
moving the
pole
magnet.
is like 10 feet long, and you're running back and forth.
all the way around the bloody board.
No, there's no pull. It's a magnet.
Yeah.
He's the guy with the remote control. Yeah.
I still have one of those games sitting in my basement.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah,
great. Those are great.
Marshall got it for Christmas when we haven't played it. It is frustrating to play. Like you got to get pretty good at it.
yeah.
I remember the one Christmas. I don't know where my parents found this, but it was like a retro tabletop game with the original 6, and the guys were like full. Like they didn't have the little stick. It was like steel guys.
Really?
And it was. I told that if I still had that in mint condition, that would be collector's
Yeah,
item.
yeah,
I
yeah.
totally ruined that game as a kid. But I remember getting it. My dad was like, "This is a very tough thing to find." That was good.
I love that stuff.
Those games were fun.
Those were fun.
Yeah.
The boo button on it, like I love this everything. Those are great. Man.
You know, it makes me want a brother when I was growing up.
Oh,
like I could
gosh.
never get my sister to play it. So the only time I ever really got to play was when my dad had time to play with me.
I spent a lot of time in arcades. You guys spend? Am I too old? Probably.
No, I
hey?
did a little bit. There's one.
yeah.
I don't know what it was actually called. My dad called it Dr. Dooms. I don't know if that's what it was called.
That's
or
a good
not,
name for an
Sherwood Park.
arcade.
So I don't know if that
Was
really
it
what it was
standalone
called.
or was it in a mall?
No, it was a standalone.
My favorite thing about going to malls for the first time back in the day was to locate the arcade in the food court
Oh, yeah,
and then
yeah.
hit it up after.
Yeah.
I would walk up to 4th Avenue, and there was a laundromat with like 3 video games in there. It wasn't literally an arcade. I got so many times a guy would be offering to sell me weed in that place.
Yeah.
You know the old thing? Like, hey, you want some weed,
Yeah.
kid? And I go, no!
I just want to play video games,
I
sir.
just play Asteroids.
Give me a Slurpee, please.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite arcade memories is when we were kids. I had a great uncle and aunt that had a little condo in Kimberley, BC.
Okay,
Dustin,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know where that is.
yep.
Yeah, Hoppy Hans.
Yeah.
So we'd go out there every summer for a week or two as a family. And in the condo unit, like at the pool area, inside the pool area, there was a Superman arcade game. I have no idea how we knew, but there was a code you could put in where you could play it for free without quarters. And I don't know how we knew this, who told us. I don't know if it was my uncle. Like I don't know, but we spent hours playing this thing because it was. I mean, probably I'm sure if I spent enough time sitting trying to remember it, I'd like remember the code. Like 'cause it's just,
Oh, that's amazing. Like you still could just
you still,
naturally
like, just
come
the
up to
muscle
boom, boom,
memory. You'd
boom,
be
boom,
like,
yeah.
yeah, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But I love that. Do you guys remember? You remember? And I know like there's places now that you can go, which you kind of had a little bit of a resurgence, like where you go play your time card or whatever, your
Yeah.
points or credits. But
Not as many old school
not
games,
as many
but,
old
yeah.
school games. But remember like the old school Palladium? Do you guys remember Palladium?
I
Back
think
in
so.
West Ed when it was like 2 floors and it's like you bought time and you went.
Oh, I didn't
remember
do
like
that.
that was like
Really?
the
Oh,
best thing ever.
That we had when I played junior in Portland, Adam Deadmarsh and I would always go to they had nickel arcades where every game was a nickel.
No way.
Yeah. So right after practice, we would go straight to the arcade and play Mortal Kombat all day
Great
until we
game.
had to
For
go back.
nickels.
Nickels. So
Jeez.
you could play forever. And I remember the one time, like we thought we were really good at Mortal Kombat, and this little girl came in and said, "Can I play?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And she literally
We know
had
where
to
this
go
is
get
going,
a
yeah.
step and go put it on so she could see. And I remember because she was Kano. And Adam was Sub-Zero. He was good with Sub-Zero. And she did the whole fatality, ripped his heart out. I was just laughing at him. And then I thought I was kick her ass. But yeah, she just
And
mopped
you
the
just
floor.
did.
Just
And then we went
wiped
to
you.
play something else. But it was like, because we were both loved arcade games. And just to have it as a nickel was just
And all the regular
unbelievable.
games that would be a quarter somewhere else were just a nickel display.
They were all nickels. They changed it to
They must have
nickels.
stole those machines. Eh?
Oh, yeah.
And they're just like, well, let's
they're
get whatever we
so
can off
great.
it.
It was
There was.
so
Did
great.
you remember the game? We had this at least in the Cranbrook arcade, but it was like it was a race car game, and then the ambulance would come by, and you'd have to try to chase the ambulance, but you would never be able to catch the ambulance ever. It was ridiculous. My other favorite one was I think it was called Off Road.
Oh, yeah.
Where
I
you would
played
race
Off-Road.
around the different dirt tracks with the 4 little trucks and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
That was a 4-man game. It was that was pretty sick too.
I think I would go to the arcade at UBC and Punch Out. The first Punch Out, loved that game.
Great game.
Great game.
VR Montenegro says, guys, Wizard's Castle. Now that is an arcade name.
yeah.
I remember that
Wizard's Castle in Kingsway Mall was my go-to. Street Fighter 2 all day. Just put those quarters up on the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when you'd come in and a guy would like put a quarter on the side and I'm next. I got
That's
next.
your
And
next
like that,
game, yeah.
you'd hear that snap and you'd look
I
and then you'd
know.
look and
Who's
you'd
this
go,
guy?
who's that guy?
Those are good times. There was nothing better than going to
was a
the
simpler
Cranbrook
time.
Mall and having my mom be like, hey,
Here
here's
you go.
20 quarters.
Yeah.
Like that was huge.
That was massive, man.
So huge back then.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Now we take the kids to the mall and they have those games, but it's like you go up and you punch this, you do that. You know, there's no like, there's like shooting games, but there's no like stand-up arcade games at the mall where you go and just
Not at the
play.
mall,
Like,
no.
yeah.
The rec room has.
I was going to say, rec
Oh, the
room
rec
has that
room might.
stuff.
Yeah, we
No, they got a
don't
lot
take
of
them
that
to the
stuff.
rec room.
No?
I'm thinking to the one. There's one in the food court there at the far
There's
end.
one in
It's like,
Galaxy Land, isn't there? Or whatever it's called.
Probably.
Oh, yeah, there
West
might be.
Edmonton Mall.
Yeah.
There might be, yeah. Anyway, all right, let's get to the Oilers power
Okay,
play. Here.
right.
Let's
All right.
get to the Oilers power play. Cash, your thoughts on not just like making a tweak, but like making significant changes to the power play.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know how if they're gonna stick with it. I think more than anything, and we've seen this from Knobloch this year already. The Jeff Skinner one practice message.
Yeah, I know.
You remember that message?
Yeah.
Where it was off the line for one day. And since then, Jeff Skinner has arguably been the most consistent Edmonton Oilers forward. And this is kind of the same thing. You have two guys that have not produced on that power play. In
Hyman and
Nuge. I was just mixing up their names in my mind. I was going to Zach Nugent Hopkins. But in Hyman and Nuge that haven't produced. And so you're going to say, okay, Arvidsson, net front guy, similar style player to a certain extent as Hyman, so we can put him there. And Skinner has been playing really well. I thought he was one of the best Oilers last game against Carolina, so we're going to put him in where Nuge goes. And he's a shooter, so let's have a little bit. Now, the sets that they're going to run, the plays that they're going to run, are probably still going to look...
I was going to say, do you think it'll be similar?
No, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
You're not going to change up much. You're changing the personnel a little bit. Now, I've been advocating, and I have said, because Tommy's asked, you guys have asked, where I was like, if someone switches right now, it's probably Nuge, right? Where that would, to me, if you're going to try Skinner's been playing well. He's a 30-goal guy. Played on the power play before, likes getting in there and around the puck, and he's been good so far. So maybe if you're going to try a little bit of a different look, get him in there for sure. Now, I think swapping out Bouchard at times, because that's the other guy in practice, I think that's just sending a message.
That's
like, you want to tell me Bouchard's not going to be on there and you're going to run Darnell Nurse right now on the power play or Matthias Ekholm?
It's going to be Ekholm, they said.
No,
so, yeah.
No. Now, again, if you're going to do it once to send a message to communicate that the power play hasn't been good enough, you're using your coach currency to do that, I'm all for that. But I don't see them actually really changing anything. To me, this is to communicate a message to the players to be like, you haven't been good enough. We've told you haven't been good enough. You have said you haven't been good enough. Well, now we're actually going to make this actionable, right? Like enough talking unless you get this thing turned around.
So we will see it on Friday against Pittsburgh. It's not the full-blown Skinner fake out.
You might see Skinner maybe the first time.
Yeah.
Maybe the first time you go out, you send Skinner out instead of Nuge, and maybe Arvidsson instead of Hyman, just to send a little bit of a message. Yeah. Bouchard, I think your message was sent in practice.
That was the one that really surprised me. Like we've been talking for a while.
Guys, you're sending a message in practice. It's the Skinner fake out. I mean, you are sending a message in practice.
I thought it was pretty much unanimous around EST here that if you're going to make a change to the power play, Nuge for Skinner, and it was probably the way to go. The Bouchard one really surprised me, Gager.
Yeah, I do think it's look, I'm willing to do this in practice. Don't make me do this in a game too. Right. And I think that's what we've seen him do it already. It's Knoblauch's been a little bit aggressive this year. I mean, the opposed to a lot of the coaches that have been here in the past, I think, right? Like with Leon missing a few shifts, like he's showing that he's not afraid to ruffle feathers of these guys if they're not performing.
But he's still handling it on the public side of it. He's being very player coachy.
Yeah.
Right.
It comes across that way.
It comes across that way in terms of what he's saying. Like he's being very supportive of his guys. But he's using that coaching currency. And I think in a way that's gentle. He's not throwing guys under the bus publicly. Who knows what he said in the room? He may have called guys out in the room. We don't know. Yeah, he's pulling some of those levers, Gagers, which is probably a good thing. I mean, you don't want to be walked all over. Like you have to know as a coach when to plant your feet on some things and say, no, we can't allow this to continue. And we'll see. Is this just the threat or is it real?
That's I think what everyone was worried about. A guy with limited NHL coaching experience, would he be walked over by last year, right? But now, a little bit more confident. This is kind of his team. He feels like, I'm going to impose my, I don't know if impose my will is the right thing to say.
No, but I'm not going to shy away from making the decisions I feel are going to be best for the team.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah. Not will imposition, not flaunting of power, but just saying, no, I
want you to, I
want what's best for the team.
Yeah. I asked Hernan this yesterday. He shied away from the question, didn't want to answer it. But
typical.
Just if the Oilers had Rod Brendamore as a coach, and he is very demanding, I think. I wondered if you had someone a little bit more of a hard ass, and would you see the stars of the Edmonton Oilers be a little bit more cognizant of the defensive side of the puck? And I brought that up just because McDavid blows the zone regularly, but on that overtime goal, I mean, they didn't even have control of the puck, and he's hoping for a breakaway. So, and I watched Aho, and he's a star, man. But if he was on a different team, getting a little bit more leeway, maybe he would be, cheating a little bit more. But he is so defensively responsible all the time, and he's so gifted. I think everyone says, oh, he's a star. I think he's on the cusp of being a superstar.
Well, he's in our top 30.
Yeah. He's unreal.
He is a superstar.
Yeah.
Aho is what Koivu would have been if he didn't blow out his knee in his second year.
Yeah.
I swear to God. Like, Koivu was leading the league in scoring when he hurt his knee. Jeff Shantz hit him along the boards. I'll never forget. It was one of the saddest days of my life. And then he just never had the same jump as he had in his first season and a half.
Yeah.
Like, Aho is the closest thing I think I've seen to, like, my favorite player of all time. So, now, if you bring up the question about the coaching thing is interesting because, guy with no head coaching experience, younger guy takes over last year. Cass, how much does the run to the Stanley Cup final instantly eliminate how any player would ever doubt and be like, well, the guy doesn't even have a year's experience. Like, how does that change things for a players group when your coach steps in and he doesn't have much of experience, but he just got a Stanley Cup run under his belt in his first 8 months.
But I still think it's going to be not necessarily based on that. It's going to be based on how you're conducting yourself in that room and on the bench, on what are players seeing? What are they hearing when you're going and sitting down with them for one-on-one meetings or meetings with your line? How is he interacting with them? So I think there's more to it than just having that Stanley Cup experience. And again, to me, you start to see him pull some of the levers with the veteran players or the more veteran guys where he's, Gator don't take no, right? Like,
classic other guys reference.
But that's kind of it, right? Like, where it's just like, no, I'm gonna be firm in my commitment to do what I think is best for the team, and that's gonna mean some hard decisions have to be made. But it looks like he's trying to and doing it in a slowly escalating manner, right? Where it's like he's not just jumping to DEFCON 5. It's like, no, we're gonna take some time. Things still don't turn around. Well, we're going to start to look at some different options. So, I think you earn it. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. You earn it with what you're doing and how you're communicating with the guys, particularly in the room behind the scenes.
Any questions for us today here on Two Guys A Goalie, Nielson, Cass, and Gager, 780-218-9999 over in the Nasty Chat as well. I do have some more things on the power play that I want to discuss, but Will Ferrell's character in The Other Guys, especially when he's Gator and they're flashing back and Mark Wahlberg's like, you were a pimp. No, I wasn't a pimp. And then it cuts like such a good sort of
I was just helping my roommate out on dates.
Yeah, taking her on dates, collecting some money, providing protection for some of her other friends. It's just like
I feel like that movie is so underrated. It's one of the last great comedies. Right? It's one of the last great comedies.
Yeah.
I still like the whole tuna lion bit as well.
Yeah. Well, no, what do you think now? He lays it out. We'll build an apparatus of various breathing.
Made out of kelp, yeah.
I think one of my favorite ones was when they were sending the mom back and forth across the street saying nasty stuff.
It's the
whole thing, how he's just like, look at my wife, she dresses like a hobo. And Mark Wahlberg's like, what? and then he goes and sees his ex-wife, and she's also smoking hot, or his ex-girlfriend, and Mark Wahlberg's like, how are you getting these hot women? And,
I love when that guy, what's
Judith?
the line?
Judith.
No,
Judith.
It's Christina,
right, not Judith. Christina.
You're going to make love to my wife. Remember and they chases him like kilometers away. God, too funny, man.
Good show.
Yeah. God, what was it? What was it? Mike and the Dirty. What was the name?
Mike and the Boys. It was just
Dirty Mike and the Boys.
Soup Kitchen. Yeah,
Dirty Mike and the Boys.
Soup Kitchen.
It's Christina. All right, on the power play. So, Cats, the switching of the personnel on the power play.
Yep.
From what you've watched of the power play so far and breaking it down on pre and post, is it a personnel issue or are teams onto what they're doing?
No. It's the same thing. So you love Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah, I like him, yeah.
You like him? Okay.
I love him.
How many different spots in the last 15 years has Alexander Ovechkin played in the power play?
One.
And what has been the entire time the Washington Capitals power play system.
Pass it to him to hammer it home.
So
no, it's not as good as it used to be because Backstrom's not around anymore.
Okay, but that's some of the personnel. Like you didn't have Backstrom's not where he was, but for years when Backstrom was there, and they had for probably we'd have to look probably for 5 or 6 years, or even 7 years. Like they had, their power play was guaranteed in the top 5 every single year.
Washington?
Yeah.
I looked back on this last night because we had Bruce Boudreau on this morning.
Yeah.
And he was a coach of them when their power play was sick. And like top 30 all time, there's like 5 Washington Capitals seasons in there. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like they were at a ridiculous clip, and every single year you knew exactly what they were going to do, is feed Ovi the puck and let him 1-tee it. Right, like that was the power play. Now they did have some other options. Backstrom was really good, but teams knew exactly what they were going to do. And guess what? If they execute, you still can't stop it, because guess what? You have 5 players. How many does the other team have? They have 4. Right? You get 4 players. And so for the Oilers, it's not that, teams have figured out what they're trying to do and they're going to stop it. No, it's all your execution, because you have options wherever the puck is. And on penalty killing and good penalty killers are about eliminating high danger options and forcing the lower percentage plays. And for most teams, the last number of years, that's meant, if you're going to give up something, it's that through pass to Draisaitl, because it has to go through the most sticks. You have the most chance of deflecting it. It's the lowest percentage play that you're going to give up. Now, Draisaitl has been so lights out that some teams started trying to take that away a little bit more, which is where you saw, I think, the emergence of Evan Bouchard taking more shots and generating more offense, because it's like, okay, if you're going to try to take that away, well, now we're going to work it to Bouchard and let him start to absolutely rip it, and he's got a pretty good conversion rate from there. But the execution has not been there. Now, the first power play, that game against Carolina, when I watched, I went, their power play could be good tonight, because they executed well. Yeah. They moved well. They looked fast. The very first one looked fast, looked dangerous, and they had a ton of chances. And people were applauding afterwards, because you could see they were snapping the puck around. And yes, they didn't score. Freddie Anderson made one great save. I think it was on Draisaitl, if I recall correctly. But it was like, no, you had a lot of opportunity, because they executed. They moved the puck well, cleanly. They looked fast, and they were aggressive. They weren't just sitting too much perimeter looking for too perfect a play, which is what they've been doing. So execution and sitting on the perimeter too much instead of being aggressive when there have been opportunities clearly to take the puck to the net. Now, that's not me saying like to sit and, there was an instance, a gentleman, because I was sitting in the crowd with my daughter, that was a row or two away, probably a little inebriated, had a couple adult beverages, and it's like Bouchard got the puck once, and he was like up at the corner of the blue, and the guy's like, shoot. And I'm like, no.
Not from there.
Not from there. So we're not saying just the shoot from anywhere mentality, but they have not, when there have been opportunities to take the puck to the net, when, appropriate opportunities, not throwing it through 8 shin pads, but they have gotten away from that a little bit. But bottom line, guys, sorry, that's me rambling and monologuing here, is they have not executed cleanly. And if Hyman doesn't have a hot stick, if Nugent Hopkins doesn't have a hot stick, and you need to switch it out a little bit, then go for it. And we heard Knobloch say, and it's true, that statistically, and so, okay, this is where analytics are good. Okay.
Wait, no, you can't be that guy. No, you hate analytics.
No. Analytics, for the most part, for most people, they use them horribly so.
Yeah.
But where teams and smart teams and people that do it well, use it, would be to evaluate, okay, let's look at actually what happened. Because there's what we're seeing on the power play. Is it backed up by the analytics? And if we look at them, and Knobloch has mentioned this in interviews, they, from a chance percentile standpoint, they're kind of middle of the pack on the power play, right? Where they probably should have had a couple more goals. They haven't been able to pull the trigger. Statistically, usually they'd have more goals than they would. Now, execution-wise, they're still middle of the pack. They should be at the top. So to me, it's an execution thing is the biggest thing. It's not a setup. It's not a what options are there. It's not even a personnel thing. Now, I think getting a fresh personnel can kind of rejuvenate everybody mentally. You kind of get that reset if you've been stuck, in which they have been. But execution, bottom line, has just not been there.
Don't you think that they need to establish another threat, though?
But because you're not executing.
But
it's a lot of passing to Draisaitl.
It looks like there's other options. Even Bouchard seems to be deferring to shooting at times. But another threat, I think. Even McDavid just shooting the puck once in a while. Just because I remember there's an old video, and I think it was O'Reilly, and he was killing the power play against Washington, and Ovi didn't move. He might have moved 2 feet, right? He was straight-legged and just standing there. And O'Reilly was going back to the net, back to Ovi, and he was looking back and forth. And finally, the puck just came to him, and Ovi just unleashed, and boom. And you saw him just turn around.
I remember that one. O'Reilly was just like, what am I supposed to do?
Oh, my God, what am I supposed to do? So,
But that's the reality when you have execution.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But it's like, okay, they haven't executed cleanly. McDavid hasn't executed that pass to Draisaitl cleanly because teams are taking away. So it's okay finding what is available and actually successfully making those plays.
I just think they're too focused on one side all the time right now. If they're a little bit of selfishness on their power play, I think is necessary where, you know what, I got a good lane. Like you said, if you have a lane, take
the lane,
because that's going to draw people away from what
and then
you're
the next time the other lane might open up, and that's where it's like I think when I see the Oilers' power play be at its most successful, and I don't know the statistics on this, but I'm probably
No,
right.
you don't like analytics.
I don't like analytics. Is when McDavid's on that left half wall and he walks off the wall with the option to pass to Draisaitl, but he also shoots. Because instantly, if he's walking and he's not just looking past the whole time, it forces that defenseman to close the gap. It pulls that top side forward down.
If he's actually going to shoot.
If he's actually going to shoot sometimes, it pulls guys over and the goalie can't cheat. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, if you pull guys a little bit, well, then maybe that lane opens up a little bit. But he just hasn't, that I can think of that many times this year, been a threat walking off that wall when he's rotating from that side. Which I think would be beneficial, you know. But again, that's an execution thing, and taking what's there as opposed to saying we need to blow everything up.
I'd like to see a little bit more movement from Draisaitl, even if it's to like bumpering up a bit. It seems like he's just cocked and ready to unleash. But
I mean, to me, that's an
part of
Alexander Ovechkin spot.
I know, yeah.
Where it's again, and we talked about that, and I remember looking in penalty kill meetings, is okay, you just have someone shadow Ovi and stand beside him.
Play 4-on-3 the rest.
Play 4-on-3 the rest of the time, and that doesn't really work either because 4-on-3 is tough, and there's actually lots of teams that would prefer a 4-on-3 to a 5-on-3. There's players that would like that just from a space standpoint where you're able to spread things out. So it's like that doesn't work. So I mean, I don't. At times, maybe he gets a little stuck there.
Yeah.
And say, at times, but I don't. I mean, he's so good from that spot. I'm like,
he is good in that spot. Okay, so now with these two power play units sort of split for now, Cass, what about the distribution of ice time for power play 1 to power play 2 when you feel like maybe you got, especially now, if they are going to stick to their guns here and we see these two power play units rolled out on Friday, do you still let the McDavid and Draisaitl unit stay out for a minute and 40 seconds, or do you?
Well, those two are gonna still stay out.
They're gonna stay out.
Yeah.
It was suggested today that what if they're gonna do the whole? It was like Boudreaux said this morning. He goes, well, Ovi, he just stay on the ice for the whole 2 minutes. We change everybody else.
Erik Karlsson too.
Yeah. So it was suggested today. They're like, Dusty, with the way it's kind of lined up here, do you think there's any way McDavid and Draisaitl stay on for the full 2 minutes and they run two shifts
units?
of 3 with the other? I mean,
that's potential.
I don't think that's a non-starter. I think that's something that you could see this. Gage, do you think something like this they could do?
Oh yeah, I just it sparked a memory when I think it was Ron Lowe, and this is back when Oilers we weren't that good, but Doug Waite was obviously our best player, and he came in and yelled at everyone on the power play because everyone thought they were Doug Waite. He said the only expletive that is allowed to stay out there for the full 2 minutes is this guy. Everyone else, minute and off.
Really? Straight up.
Yeah. So and Dougie would stay out for the
He
full.
would stay out the full 2. Yeah. Like all the time. That was his thing.
Basically, yeah.
Full-blown power play.
Erik Karlsson was the same thing.
Yeah.
You had 2 units and
In Ottawa?
one of the defensemen in the 2 units knew.
Two
it was
groups
like,
of 4.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's it. Karlsson's on the whole ice.
time.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. All right. Those are the power play notes that I wanted to get to. What do we think about Jeff Skinner being moved all over this lineup? Like yesterday at practice, he was back on the third line with Henrique. He did get, I think, one game with McDavid and actually scored in it. And then he's been moved all around. Now, the weird thing is Cass, I think he's been probably their most consistent
He
forward.
has been.
So is that why they're moving him around
so.
to these other lines? I'm trying to figure it out.
I think they're trying to get other people going by using
maybe.
Skinner.
Maybe that's what it is.
And now that being said, I think some of his best hockey, that line when it was him with Henrique, and Brown, like
that was their best line.
That was their best line.
Yeah, it's true.
And so maybe that's what you're going for with this here. But yeah, he's been used as a little bit of utility. But I even against Carolina, like I loved his game. I really did. Like I'm watching him, and just from a play style standpoint, I'm like, ooh, like
he is so close to popping off. I think,
yeah,
like, and just getting on a roll,
yeah.
On a real tear.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what it's stuck in my mind. Mac T talking about him. He mentioned one game that they played against him when he was coaching the Blues, that it was a joke how skilled this guy was, and he just ate the Blues up that game.
But he's skilled, but he's not a perimeter skilled guy.
Yeah.
It's like he's an in tight skilled guy. Like
and that's hard. That's hard. That's very difficult.
Yeah.
A couple other players to discuss here. Al is in and says, "Hey boys, can you tell me why fans are all over Bouchard? The team is 37-17 scoring chances for and against when he's on the ice. Literally less than 2 scoring chances against per game. What have we thought of his play? I know he did have 4 turnovers last game. Like I mean, he's got 2 points in 6 games. He's supposed to be an 80-point guy. So, yes, I mean, there's some good things there, but I think his lack of actual real production probably has some people frustrated with his game, right? Like,
they don't see the goals and the assists.
Yeah.
Because, those cover up from the nonchalance in his own end, I think. It doesn't look good when something bad happens with Bouchard because he doesn't have a pulse, right? But it suits him on the offensive side. He has so much patience.
Poise with the puck.
Yeah. And so, and he's had some, like, it looks like the pucks are heated up a little bit for him, too. Like, they're bouncing over sticks and stuff. Some of those things are unlucky. But his overall play this year, he's still in second gear. Right, slow starter. Tommy's mentioned it lots. He does need to bring his game up a few notches, but
he hasn't been horrible. I mean, I'll go. Let's go biblical here. There's a biblical saying: "It's grace covers a multitude of sins." Well, goals cover a multitude of hockey sins on ice, right? Like where you get those points, and all of a sudden people are forgetting about the turnovers. Where the pucks, even if you're getting more chances than you have turnovers. If the puck's not going in, it's a little bit more difficult to live with. And for the Edmonton Oilers, where it's not just Bouchard that's having trouble scoring, it's the entire team that's having trouble scoring. It's like those mistakes just become that much bigger. And you saw that like with Ekholm's post-game conference the other day, and he's talking about how you can't give anything up and you have to play tight, especially when you're not scoring. And it's so true. And so for Bouchard, where people are probably harder on him than he deserves, I think, thus far, because I can't remember who is it that threw out that stat or the like for chances for and against in the chat.
37-13. I can't remember. Al. It was Al.
Yeah. So from Al that threw out that where it's just like, he's had way more chances for, but the puck just hasn't gone in. Yeah. And so those chances against just take on that deeper, bigger, darker feeling to it, which is where people are all over him.
This is another stat. I wanted to look it up just to get to the bottom of it because we're going to use stats to talk about how Bouchard's been playing great at 37-13. Here's team giveaways so far this year. Matthias Ekholm has given the puck away 7 times. Kulak's given it away 8 times. McDavid's given it away 9 times. Henrique's given it away 9 times. Dreisaitl's given it away 9 times. Evan Bouchard has given the puck away 16 times already this season. Like
that's where it is.
That's those are glaring mistakes. Yeah. So, I mean, I think he hasn't been one of their biggest problems, but you can't tell me just because the shot share is good that Bouchard's been playing very well.
No, I wouldn't say that he's playing very well. I just don't think he's been playing horrible. And I misquoted. Sorry, it's love covers a multitude. So it's not great. So just to fix that one. So sorry.
All right, and he has the puck a lot too. Yep. You're going to give it up a lot because you have it a lot. So
but preferably not in front of your own net.
No, that doesn't. I didn't like that.
Yeah,
no, those are
There's
bad.
a few spots on the ice where you really don't want to.
But that's Evan Bouchard, and we know that, and we knew that, and that's like when he makes mistakes. Remember a great conversation I had with Laddie Schmid about it last year. Where it's like where you're going to have those mistakes at times, but you have to understand that what he gives you in the offensive zone. With that patience and the puck moving makes up more than makes up for it, but just the puck hasn't been going in. And so it's like you don't have that offensive push that makes up for those turnovers in front of the net, mistakes in front of the net and all that.
Okay, the other player that I quickly want to discuss, and I'm glad we only got 3 minutes, so I don't get fired up again. But Cass, what have you thought of Skinner so far this season?
Which Skinner? Which one?
The goaltender.
Goaltender.
And I thought he was brilliant last game. Brilliant last game,
Yep.
which is why I freaked out when people were still calling him out after that game.
Oh,
I don't know what more you want from him. Like, what more do you want from him in that game?
No, but
But what have you thought of him overall this year?
There's no Jordan Eberle. There's no Schultz. There's no.
gotta pick on somebody.
Yeah, you gotta pick on somebody, right? No Ryan McLeod now.
Yeah.
And so with no McLeod, it's like, who are people going to yell at? No
You're
Puljujarvi.
turning on the goalie though.
That's what they do. That's what people do.
I know.
And there's people every post game show. It's like no matter what he does, it's like no, he'll get blamed for that loss. And there were after that overtime loss, like so many people.
That's
and
when
like
I got
Aho go
unhinged.
like, how does he make that? I'm like, he makes a massive save, huge save right before that. It's like, anyways, no, he was started the season. He wasn't great, but last game he was absolutely spectacular.
And he made huge saves right before the last 2 goals too.
Yeah.
Like, it should have been done. That one, the save on Aho, he made that look so easy.
Yeah,
that blocker
that
save.
was a tough save.
That was
well picked,
perfect shot.
well
man.
picked above the pad.
Yeah, above the pad,
Yep.
below and for him to get and outside, like he had to reach for it.
Yep.
That was a very
Yeah,
difficult.
well, because
Yeah,
normally
swoops
your
around
hands in,
Yeah,
like, and
you're going-
dropping, and you're dropping your hands in. So that extension that way to track it, that's
and that
great
was
save.
my critique. Like Stuart Skinner, he seemed to abandon just his blocker style. He goes, I'm going to go make saves for the first time. And that's what I loved his
interesting
game.
point, yeah.
I loved his game because he was, if you watch him, he's kind of out of control a little bit, right? And he's just throwing caution to the wind. He's not just trying to get in front of it, hopes it hits him. He made a lot. Both of them made great saves. That was a goal.
Anderson was really good.
Oh,
Anderson
they
was
were
really
both. They were both just
Reed
awesome,
Wilkins,
man.
who just walked in here, summed it up very nicely in the postgame show. He said it was a 5-5 game going
Yeah.
to
Oh,
overtime.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it really,
Yeah, absolutely.
It really was.
Yep.
That was really good. 780-218-9999. Desker is over in the chat and says, guys, I still want one clip of him making a glove save above his waist. So he's not happy with his.
He wants a windmill.
He's got.
Hey, you
I
want a
guess
windmill?
that must be.
Go out to a men's league game. You can see them
Yeah.
all. That's all that we do.
Yeah, as soon as it's in the glove, it's like, yeah, exactly. Cass, good having you pop in today,
Good
buddy.
to be here, boys.
God, you should totally move to the West End. Hey, wouldn't that be great?
Just buy me some of those home lotto tickets and let me.
Man,
Maybe it'll
that would be
happen.
it. That would be,
Yeah.
man, would I love to win. Can you imagine winning $1 million home?
No, it's just more
Would
to
you
clean.
sell the home or
More
would
to
you sell
clean.
your current house
I
and
don't
move
think
it out?
you're allowed to sell
Yeah, you
it.
can.
Well, after a year, right? Yeah, I think really you can sell it right
You
away.
can sell it right away. I
You,
think.
you've looked into the details, eh?
Well,
Are you thinking about winning a lottery and selling a house, Cass?
I'm worried about the property
No,
taxes.
it's yeah, it's not my alley. No,
I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I'd sell the house and stay in our house and just pay off
think-
my mortgage and stay where we are and have a bunch of money in the bank.
I think I'd move into the deluxe house and rent mine out.
As a financial guys, what would you suggest for me?
That's what I'd do.
You would.
Yeah, that's what I would
rent out
suggest.
my home.
Rent out
so
your
I still
home.
own it.
Still own
and
it.
move into the $1 million home.
Yeah, and then it's
not a bad idea.
hopefully it pays for some of the mortgage and your property tax at the next place.
Look at you guys. Brilliant stuff.
Man.
All right. EST Afternoons is coming up. Gager's going to move one slot over there. Cass, good seeing you. Thanks for coming in. GCL Diesel pre- and post-game show on Friday night for the return of one, yes, a Puljujarvi, who, man, that would be the end. That'd be the final straw. Friday, if like the Penguins win and he has 2 goals or something.
Oh my gosh!
The chat. Good luck, Cass. You'll be on.
don't
You'll
even
be on
wanna know.
full caps all night.
I don't even want to know.
That'll be good. It's GS Construction presenting 2 guys and a goalie for Cass and Gager. I'm Nielsen. EST Afternoons coming up. They'll have a chance for you to get in the mix for that EST flyaway to Los Angeles. Make sure you're listening for the keyword with Hernan and Gager. I'm off for CFL the rest of the week and into the weekend, so I'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great afternoon. Take it easy.